Hello, welcome to the Two Chicks Homestead Podcast. We are the Two Chicks. Yay!
Hi, I'm Nate.
And I'm Erin, and we talk about homesteading and living on a small piece of land.
All right, everyone, welcome to episode 48.
Yep.
Homeschooling.
We are going to talk about homeschooling, finally.
So note to self, never throw it out there. We're going to do an episode next because things change.
Right. But we'll eventually get around to it.
Exactly. So we're going to do some little bit of talking back and forth on the homeschooling stuff. I know we have a probably different aspect that we take.
Yep. So to start with, we have an almost 10-year-old, 9.5-year-old, and a 6-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
We have been homeschooling since the very beginning. They've never been to public school. I know we kind of went over this in the very beginning, but you were the one that brought up homeschooling in the beginning.
Right. I'm a high school dropout. I never did good in school. I never enjoyed it. It was pretty hard for me, and I hate to bring the politics up of it, but there was a lot of politics when I was in school. I have a few stories here and there about students who passed away and they just weren't recognized because who they were. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what led me down this path and the way that I was treated in high school. I know I wasn't an honor roll student by any means. Had a lot of problems here and there, but it just wasn't fun.
You still enjoyed learning.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I go whole hog on learning stuff. If you give me a topic and it's a topic that I'm interested in, I will spend every waking moment I have to go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. And I was raised in a very, good area.
Right.
Had really nice schools. Yeah, we had some, jerk teachers, but overall, I kept to myself. I enjoyed school, but I didn't enjoy the social aspect of it. I didn't realize that introvert was the word. Mm-hmm. It probably didn't exist, back then.
Right.
But that's what I was. I didn't want to hang out. I just wanted to go to school, do my work, and get home.
Right. And I was the exact opposite. I was get me out of here and let me learn on my own.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like I didn't love going. And I think I remember bringing up homeschooling to my mom, and my mom was like, well, we used to have a homeschooling family, and they were really weird. But this was back computers hadn't been out that long. The internet was still pretty new, and it wasn't like how today where you can talk to other people all day long.
Right. Absolutely. So my aspect of seeing where homeschoolers are weird is the kids are willing to talk to adults.
Right. It's considered a good thing.
Yes.
Like, we are okay with that.
Yeah. Like, our kids will have a full-blown conversation with somebody who's in their 40s and 50s over the kid who is the same age hiding in a corner not wanting to talk to anybody.
Right. And it's funny because we have family that will come in once a year mm-hmm. and be like, oh, our little girl at the time, they're so excited to talk to me. And I want to say they're just as excited to talk to the male person and mm-hmm. the person at the grocery store. It's not you.
Yeah.
You still need to come around and make an effort. They just like to talk. They'll talk to anybody.
Right. And it's funny when we were... So I had this analogy way back when, and I'm sorry, kids, you'll hear this someday, but it's like when we're doing speech therapy for the youngest way back when, we're trying to get one to talk and one to shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, where's the speech therapy to make them be a little quieter? But yeah, we definitely have one extrovert in the family.
Exactly.
And that's her.
And she does an awesome job.
And really, I couldn't ever teach her how to be like that, so it's probably a good thing that she is.
No, she's the one that, on her own, decided to learn about horses. Mm-hmm. Like, we didn't push her. I grew up around horses. Me, personally, I could stand to not be around them anymore because they drive me nuts.
Yeah, and I didn't know anything about them.
Right. But she has gone down the point to learn the different breeds, different colors, different ways to ride a horse, different ways to tack up a horse.
All the different walks and runs and gallops. And
yeah, and this is just from her going down the rabbit hole on YouTube.
Right. So the biggest umbrella term is unschool.
Yes.
However,
they have rules.
I mean, you start going down the rabbit hole of looking at unschooling, you will find radical unschooling, which is not what we do.
No.
That is like no rules, no nothing. Kids do what they want. I don't know. That's not us. So yeah, our kids have a bedtime. They definitely have rules. We don't limit screen time.
No.
We suggest, that, hey, we're going to do this. But most of the time, you know what, especially in the winter months, I want to just sit and, dilly-dally on my phone. I'm not going to tell them they can't.
Right. And I'm not home most of the time either. I'm at work.
Yeah.
So for them, when we get home, like we'll do some random stuff. They'll learn some random things. Like if they ever have a question, they know they can come ask me. And if I don't know the answer, we'll look it up together and we'll learn it together.
Yeah. But I kind of like the term life schooling. And now it's just kind of come to, we don't do school at home.
Right.
Like I don't want it to be school at home. I have a lot of curriculum because I personally like books. I like the workbooks. That's what I liked in school. The kids hate them. And
to an extent, yes.
And I have so many because I still sometimes get that panic like, well, if I buy this next amazing thing, that will be the thing that makes me feel like I'm doing enough, and it never feels like that. And I would imagine that public school parents feel that way too, that they don't do enough. I think it's just a parent thing. Mm-hmm. But so we kind of consider it to be life schooling because we learn by doing games and helping out outside in the summer with the animals and gardening and baking and, shopping and just doing things.
Right.
Where it's not like we ever sit down and be like, okay, now we're going to do math.
Absolutely. And if we want to do science, we process an animal. Yeah. And they get to see all the organs and learn about stuff that way.
Yeah. And we went last summer and saw Fifi, the World War II plane. Yep. Well, we spent 2 weeks YouTubing things about World War II. Mm-hmm. Like, I had been so anxious about, like, when to start that, that it just happened. And it was like, why was I so worried about it? Like, it just appeared as an option, and they were interested in it. Mm-hmm. And we learned about it, and then we kind of moved on. Yeah,
and if they want to know more, they always know they can ask. Right. Because we're going to help them out whatever we can. You're not going to find that in school. Mm-hmm. Yes, there are some great teachers. Yes, there are some great administrators. But I've met quite a few who really don't give a shit about anything. And don't give a shit about helping out kids. And I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of the politics with unions and stuff like that, but that's another thing that I always had an issue with. But I'm here for my kids to make sure they learn what they want to learn when they want to learn it. Mm-hmm. And that is the most important thing. We don't need to be teaching kids sex ed in kindergarten.
Yeah, which is getting close to being passed.
Oh, it's passed. It's already passed.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was passed, but now it's like being passed again. Like,
well, it's got to go to the governor. So,
but I mean, there was like a change last year, but I think schools were able to opt out of it, and now I think they're trying to get it where schools can't opt out of it.
Yes, schools will no longer be able to opt out of it if they want their funding.
Yeah, which, I mean, our kids have learned about sex because that's how baby bunnies are made. Mm-hmm. But it was taught in a way that we were in control.
Right, absolutely. And it's not a whole bunch of BS to go along with it. You stick a rabbit in with another rabbit, and if it's a male and a female, they're going to make babies. If you stick two rabbits together and it's a male and a male, they're probably going to fight. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's when you brought it up way back when our first was born, I probably looked at you like you had 3 heads.
You did.
Because it was like, what are you talking about?
And you came from the quintessential 50s looking, perfect neighborhood, perfect town.
Yes. I lived in Mayberry.
Yes,
pretty much.
thank you, Mayberry. Like the Truman Show. That persona is the town that you grew up in.
Yes, I admit that.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's helped you become who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends on how people are raised. And I think our girls with the homeschooling are going to be a little bit more in tune with society.
Yeah.
Because they already kind of see what's going on. I am very happy we did not have to do the public schools version of homeschooling the past 2 years.
Yeah, because for a couple of years it was like, why am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
When people would ask me why I'm homeschooling, I didn't have an answer. It was just like, I don't know, just my husband brought it up. It felt right. Like,
mm-hmm.
We're just kind of doing it.
Right, and a lot of it stemmed with you were able to stay home.
Yeah.
Well, you weren't able to. You were forced to.
Yeah, it would have cost.
Yeah.
We would have lost money if I had
Yes.
gone back to work.
So we had it figured out when we had our first daughter. We had it figured out on our salary that if you had gone back to work and we had put the girls or our oldest in daycare, you would have had $20 extra a month before you even put gas in your car.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm not doing that for $20.
Yeah.
It's costing us money for you to go to work. Just stay home.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. And we did.
And it worked out great. I mean, yeah, we had some tough years, but who doesn't?
Who doesn't, right?
So,
I don't remember where I was going with this. But yeah, it was like, for a while, it was like, I don't know why we're doing this. It just kind of, we are.
mm-hmm.
And until something doesn't work, we're just going to keep doing it.
Right.
Well, then COVID hit, and it was like, wow.
Yeah.
I am glad we made this decision. And it was funny because a lot of public school, friends were like, "Oh, at least your lives didn't change." And it was
Bullshit.
like, "Are you kidding?" They said our whole world went upside down just as much as yours. We couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Our lives revolved around museums,
mm-hmm.
park outings, libraries, everything, and that was gone.
Yeah.
Just as much as the school was.
Yeah, we used to take them to Burpees all the time up in Rockford.
Yeah.
And they love that museum. And it's a really cool museum.
Yeah, and we haven't been back since because they had such crazy mask requirements and time limits, and it takes us an hour and a half to get up there
mm-hmm.
to only have an hour to be in. It was just goofy. Anyway.
Right.
But, I'm really glad. I mean, some of the horror stories we heard about the remote learning. And then it's funny how friends would be like, "Oh, we're homeschoolers too now." And it's like, oh my God.
No, you're not.
No.
You are government school.
Yeah, or the other ones that said, "Oh my gosh, this is just as bad as I thought it would be." And it's like, well, because
you're not.
You're not doing it. You're not doing what I'm doing. I do not have a string attached to anything with what I'm doing.
Right. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say, since we have never had the kids in school, the school does not know they exist.
Yeah.
Which is...
I mean, they do because we've gone to the doctors, but...
The school district does not know they exist. Okay? And that's... I don't need Big Brother telling me how to raise the kids.
Yeah.
They are going to come out and fine. And if you are worried about it, just keep moving forward and see how they do. We had a lady in town who was homeschooled that started her own coffee company at 20?
Yeah, I remember.
Ish. Sold it 2 years later and moved out of the state. Like, sold the business and walked away. More power to her. If she could figure that out, build her business and sell it within 2 years, they're making a killing. And it's coffee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I think I want to say, if you're out there homeschooling or thinking about it, your kids are going to be different. And it's a good thing. Your family's going to run differently than your public school friends. They're even going to run differently than any of your homeschooling friends. And that's the whole idea, is that you find what works for you.
Exactly. No homeschooling family is the same. No homeschooling family does it the same way. And that's why it's nice. Because you can try things out. If it works for you, it works for you. What works for your neighbor might not work for you.
Yeah. And I still go through these panic moments where it's like, we're not doing enough. We need to do something more. Or my kids are watching too much TV or, on their iPad or whatever. And it's like, wait a minute. It's the middle of January. It's freaking cold outside.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they do. I mean, it's what they're having fun doing. And the kids at the public school do that all summer. So it really just balances out. They are still learning a bunch of stuff all the time, even when I'm not like directing their brain to do it.
Right. I mean, they're always busy doing something, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a workbook or a sheet or something like that. I mean, they do really good at just figuring things out on their own.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we talked about it earlier with the oldest and the horses. The youngest is always getting into other stuff, and she's just starting to gain her legs where she wants to learn some stuff.
Yeah. I mean, she's only 6. So.
Right. And it's usually in the kitchen helping you.
Yeah. She loves to be with me. So
right.
She wants to do anything I'm doing. Baking, anything.
Absolutely. So that's always been the thing. And it's both the girls, too.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of their math is baking with you.
Mm-hmm.
And just figuring things out.
Yeah, and it's like, sometimes I think, like, oh gosh, we should sit down and do math. And it's like, but we'll learn it when it comes to that. Like, something will happen and we'll need to learn how to do it. And that's when it will feel natural. I mean, you know that meme that goes around that, the teachers are telling us, well, you won't ever have this information in your pocket, and yet here we have it on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't need to sit them down and be like, okay, we're going to learn algebra today. Because why? I mean, we haven't had a reason to learn it yet. So it's not even like fitting into life yet.
Right. There comes a point to learn algebra. And honestly, Google's out there. If you need to figure it out, you'll figure it out.
Yeah. And if she wants to do something with algebra, then that will be when her brain clicks on and we'll learn it.
Yep. And if she wants to figure out math, we have a whole bunch of stuff with ham radio. I'm sure she'll love that.
But yeah, I mean, anything that we don't know, we find somebody who can help them.
And I don't care what it costs. If it's in our budget and the girls want to learn it, we'll do it.
Yeah.
I mean, they did a summer camp, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah. Well, before all the stuff happened.
So 3 years ago. The oldest had a blast with that.
Yeah.
Like, it was so much fun for her.
She loved it.
And you find little things like that. And also, the grandparents help a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I know with my parents, I mean, they were never like, like, oh my gosh, you can't homeschool. Like, what? Mm-hmm. They were just like, really? Why? Like, okay, whatever you want. And just kind of went along with it until the kid, the girls got older and they're going out to their house now, 90 minutes away, in the middle of the week, in the middle of spring.
Right.
And they're like, you know what? This is actually kind of nice. We don't have to worry about them missing school. We can just go do all this fun stuff in Iowa when everything was open to the museums.
Yeah, when nothing's open here in Illinois, everything's open across the border.
So, I mean, we could just go whenever, and it wasn't crowded because school was out.
Right. I mean, school's still in session, and the girls are out there having a little bit of fun, and they just don't sit around Grandma and Grandpa's. Like, Grandma and Grandpa take them to a lot of museums.
They come home very tired.
Yes, they usually need a day or two, and the next day they're usually
a little cranky.
Cranky.
Yeah. Yeah, because they have been very busy.
Yep. They sleep good.
Yeah.
Because they're up late, they're up early.
Yep.
It's busy. But a lot of people don't. If you have family close and your kids are willing to go visit, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. More power to you. Because the kids are going to love it. The kids are going to grow up remembering that.
Oh, yeah.
We can pick up on a Wednesday and go do whatever. Mm-hmm. There's a snowstorm coming. Well, we'll sneak out there before the snowstorm hits. get them out there and let them have fun out there and then come home.
Yeah.
So that's always how we've been. And then when it comes to, we'll poke around every once in a while and see what we can kind of push on them a little bit when it comes to learning stuff. It's always, we have the co-op or we did last year.
Yeah. Now we just kind of have like we have this homeschool hangout that we're going to tomorrow, and it's just a laid back thing.
Yeah.
Like just to get out.
Yep. It's at the public library. Bring a game and a show and tell.
Yep.
So you guys are talking about doing memory, bringing that.
Yeah, they're big into the memory game now.
Yeah, and then got to take a rabbit foot.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Can't take the deer head. That's too big.
No, we're not taking the deer head. So, yeah, I mean, it's either, I mean, it's going to work some days and it's going to feel like it doesn't work the next day, and you just kind of push through it.
Right.
And kind of figure out if it works for you. Like, I mean, there are days where I would think, like, oh gosh, maybe they want to go to school, because we used to be the only house in the block that the bus stop would pick up.
Yeah, that's a conspiracy theory.
And my oldest would be like, well, I want to ride the bus to school. And then we'd drive past the school and see them out for recess, and she'd be like, well, but they're just playing. And it's like, well, that's just 10 minutes, you know. So now she's kind of got it where, I don't want to go to school. I would miss my sister. And it's like, well, that's why we do it, is because they are going to grow up. I mean, they fight, believe me. They fight and argue. But they're going to grow up together and have that bond that, they were never apart all day and only had, an hour and a half in the evenings to try and figure each other out again.
Right. They're constantly playing with each other, and they're constantly, I mean, they do bicker a little bit, but what kid doesn't? Yeah. And we've kind of let them, you guys got to figure it out. We're not going to police it. Yeah. So, figure it out.
Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't.
Yeah. Sometimes they get in a little bit of trouble. Sometimes they kiss and make up, and they're all set and happy.
So yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's working still. And so we're keeping on with it and trying to balance everything out that we also want to do. Yep. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's tiring. But it'll all work out.
Yep. Well, I know it's really busy for you. I know I work all day and I don't see a whole lot of the stuff going on at home. But I know there are definitely days you are pretty tired when I get home. Yes. So, but yeah, it's all in... It's for the best.
It will all be worth it.
Yes.
And all the stuff I stress out about is really stuff that I just stress myself out with. Yeah. So it's all okay.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yep.
So that's the fun part.
Yep.
So anything else you want to add?
That's it.
All right. We will catch you guys next week.
All right. See you on the homestead, where something is always growing, eating, or cooking.